state will call Deputy Jason Rosol to the stand.
Raise your right hand. You promise testimony about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth. If so, say I do.
I do. Have a seat.
McAllister.
Thank you. Sir, can you tell the jury, I know it's obvious, how you're employed?
I'm employed as a Chickasaw County deputy.
And if you could just state your name and spell your first and last name for the record.
My name is Jason Rosol. It's JasonRosol.
And how long have you been a deputy sheriff at the Chickasaw County Sheriff's Office?
The Chickasaw County Sheriff's Office hired me on November 27, 2012.
And do you have prior experience in law enforcement before becoming a deputy sheriff at the Chickasaw County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, I do.
How many years total experience do you have in law enforcement?
I've been in law enforcement since February 27, 2011.
Can you describe for the jury your educational background that qualified you to be a peace officer here in the state of Iowa?
I have some military background, and I also got a two-year college degree at Hawkeye Community College. And then I've had previous ride-along experience with the Iowa State Patrol and other departments.
Did you attend the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy?
Yes, I did.
And are you a certified peace officer here in the state of Iowa?
I believe I graduated in May of 2011,
And where did you attend college?
Hawkeye Community College in Waterloo.
Now you mentioned you have some military service background. Can you tell the jury what your service has been?
I was in the U.S. Navy, where I started out in the supply chain and then cross-trained into policing.
And did you work in policing in the U.S. Navy?
For a short time, yes.
Were you honorably discharged?
Yes.
Now, sir, back on August 30th, 2017, were you working?
Yes, I was.
How many deputies were on duty that afternoon of August 30th, 2017 in Chickasaw County?
I would be what's called the call deputy, and then I had 2 administrators. So there was a total of 3 certified peace officer deputies.
Is Chickasaw County a rural county?
Yes.
And so when you said you were the road deputy, what area were you covering that day?
All 505 square miles.
So you were the deputy that was working the road that day?
Yes, I was.
Do you remember what shift you were working that day?
I was working a day shift. We work a 6 on, 3 off schedule, and my hours were always the same, 9 o'clock in the morning until 5:30 in the evening.
Now you mentioned there was 2 administrators working that day. Who were those folks?
Sheriff Marty Eamon was working, and Chief Deputy Reed Palo.
Are you familiar with the city of Alta Vista?
Yes.
How would you describe the size of the community?
Very small, I would say maybe 400 people.
Is there a convenience store in town?
Yes, there is.
At the convenience store, do they sell baby supplies?
I am not aware.
They sell food?
Yes.
Prior to August 30th, 2017, did you know the defendant, Zachary Koehn?
No, I did not.
Did you know his living girlfriend, Cheyenne Harris?
No, I did not.
Did you know his infant child, Sterling?
No, I did not.
How about his 2-year-old child, Nala?
No, I did not.
When you were working August 30th, 2017, were you dressed in as you are now in a police uniform?
I was in a police uniform. I wasn't wearing this green vest.
Did your uniform clearly identify you as a police officer?
Yes, it did.
Were you driving a police car?
Yes, I was driving a marked unit.
Now, at about 12:55 or so in the afternoon, you were on duty, correct?
Yes.
Where were you at?
I was on the south side of the county on Highway 63 on a prior call.
And were you dispatched to a residence located at 107 South Hilltop in Alta Vista?
Yes, I was.
Give the jury a sense of where you were at in your patrol car in relation to the town of Alta Vista.
if you think of it as a square and Alta Vista is the top left corner, I would have been the exact opposite on the bottom side.
Were you about as far away as you could be in Chickasaw County from Alta Vista?
Yes, I was.
And what was the nature of the information you were provided about the call?
I was provided that there was a 4-month child that they believed had passed.
And so when you received that call, what did you do?
I was clearing from my other call, so I responded what we call 1033, which is emergency.
And what does that mean?
It means I went lights and sirens.
And your report says that you arrived at the apartment complex at 1:09 p.m. Is that correct?
Yes.
So that would be maybe 12, 14 minutes after you were dispatched?
Yes.
Did you learn any additional information about the nature of the call while you were en route to the apartment complex?
No, I did not. I knew that dispatch had called for first responders, and basically had paged everybody out, any first responders, and anybody else that was available to respond.
Deputy, why don't you move the microphone a little further away?
Okay.
So we're still getting feedback, and you
I
speak
hear
loud
you.
enough, you'll be able to hear you. Go ahead, Mr. McAllister.
Thank you. And Deputy, you did arrive at the apartment complex at 1:09, correct?
Yes.
Oh, what did you see when you arrived?
When I arrived on scene, I originally seen the apartment building, of course, and there was an individual standing outside of the apartment building. I seen Deputy Pelo's truck, and went towards the apartment.
Can you kind of describe the apartment complex for the jury?
The apartment complex is 3 separate buildings, but they're all part of the same complex, and it's almost a backwards view, I guess I would say. There's a north-south building, another north-south building, and in between those 2 buildings is the building in question, which runs east and west.
And did you have an apartment number that you were responding to?
I believe it was apartment 7.
Did you know where apartment 7 was in that complex when you arrived?
I did not. I knew which building to go to. I did not know the apartment.
And how was it that you were directed, or how did you get to apartment number 7?
The individual that was standing outside was actually the fire chief, and he had informed me which apartment I needed to go to.
And what was that fire chief's name?
Kevin Hupka?
And he told you where to go?
Yes.
And did you enter into the apartment complex?
Yes.
And did you find apartment number 7?
Yes, I did.
Did you go inside the apartment?
Yes, I did.
Was the door open or shut to the apartment?
The door was open.
And when you went into the apartment, what did you see?
When I entered the apartment, I seen, I guess, the living room. You walk into the living room with the kitchen off to the right, and then I could see 2 separate doorways which were right in front of me. One was directly and off to the right, and then there was what ended up being the bathroom later off to the right.
Did you see any people in the apartment when you entered?
Yes, I did.
Who did you see?
I seen medical examiner Tony Fredericks, and our ambulance personnel, Jeremy McGrath.
And was Tony Frederick in one of the bedrooms?
At that time, we were in the living room hallway in front of the bedroom.
And what did you do next?
I asked them where the baby was located and went into that bedroom.
Prior to going into the bedroom where the baby was located, did you see anybody else in the apartment?
Yes, I did.
Who else did you see?
Deputy Palo was in what we determined to be the master bedroom with a male and a female subject.
Were they adults or
Yes.
children?
They were adults.
Did you see any children in the room?
I did not.
Did you go into that back bedroom where the infant was located?
Yes.
Can you kind of describe when you're standing at the doorway what you could see?
So if you're standing in the doorway and you do not enter the room, the door was a little bit offset, and there was a full-size, an adult-sized mattress set. I believe it was a box spring and a mattress, leaning against the wall.
Which wall if you're facing entering the room?
That would have been the east side of the bedroom, which would have been my left side, which also was the wall that separated that bedroom from the master bedroom.
And what else did you see as you looked into the room?
I seen the room was not very well kept. It was dirty. I could see a bouncy chair, and then of course I could see the motorized swing in the corner.
And did you enter the room?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
I entered the room to start the investigation. The details at that point that I was getting were still, I guess, they weren't very detailed, and so I entered the room to double check baby, and then see what position they were in and start the investigation from there.
As you entered that back room where the baby was located, kind of describe how the room felt to you, temperature and air movement wise.
I immediately noticed that room that the baby was in was felt extremely hotter than the rest of the apartment.
What do you mean?
It was as if it was 10 degrees warmer.
Was the room door open or closed when you got there?
It was cracked open about 6 inches, I'd say.
How about air movement? Was there any air movement in that room where the baby was located?
In that particular bedroom, there was a light on the ceiling, no fan, and there was no fan on the floor, no box fan. There was a heavy quilt up against that they had hung over the window. So even if the window was open, there wouldn't have been much air movement.
And you said it felt warmer in the bedroom where the baby was than the rest of the apartment?
Yes, it did.
When you walked into that room, did you detect any odors?
The first thing that I could smell was human urine.
Urine, you said?
Yes.
Anything else that you could smell?
I could smell, when I got closer to baby, I could smell, I guess the only way to describe it is death. The body has started to do what it does when they're no longer living. I also, when I was down on baby's level, I could smell different scents, which later turned out to be candles, or like a candle type, I guess, air freshener.
Now, when you smelled that urine smell, where were you in the room when you first smelled it?
You could smell it as you entered the bedroom.
If anybody entered that room, could they smell that smell that you smelled?
Absolutely.
Now, you talked about what you smelled and what you felt as far as the room temperature and the air movement. What did you see concerning the swing?
The first thing I noticed about the swing was that I, as a parent, had the exact same model, and the swing was left in the on position.
And when you say it was in the on position, what do you mean?
That particular swing has multiple, what I call multiple motors. They had, the swing could move, of course, as it's a swing. And then it also had music that it could play, and then a mobile that would run. And for any of those to work, the swing had to be on, and the green light would light.
And you said you had the swing yourself?
I had the exact same model.
Can you tell the jury what your own experience is with caring for children?
I have 4 children. Age ranges from 13 years old to a 2-year-old, which was about the same age as Sterling at that time, a little bit older.
So your child had been approximately 4 months old at the time of this incident back in August of 2017?
Yes, just a little bit older, I believe a month or 2.
And you had the very same swing for your infant child that was in the room that you entered at that apartment complex?
Yes, that's how I knew that the bouncy chair and the swing were set.
Now you said the swing was in the on position. Was it moving?
It was not moving.
Was the mobile moving?
No, it was not.
Was it playing any music?
No, it was not.
So it's possible for that swing to be on and nothing happening as far as movement or music, correct?
Correct.
Did you see Sterling laying in the seat?
Yes, I did.
What did you first notice when you saw him?
The first thing I noticed is that his eyes were open, and he had blue eyes, bright blue eyes. His head was tilted, I believe to the left is what I put in my report. And again, when I was down on his level, the smell of urine was so bad that at times I had to hold my breath.
What do you mean?
You couldn't, it was so, the ammonia smelled so bad that you had to hold your breath at times to walk out of the bedroom.
And when did you first notice that?
That, it got really bad when I got down by the swing, down by Sterling, and I moved a blanket, and then I could really notice it.
Were you within arm distance of Sterling when you noticed that overpowering smell?
Yes.
So you noticed that his eyes were open and his head was tilted to the left, correct?
Correct.
How about the size of Sterling? Did you know anything about his size?
Originally, I thought maybe there was a mix-up by our dispatcher because it was called in as a 4-month-old, and he did not look like a 4-month-old. He looked more like a newborn.
What do you mean?
He was very small in size, skinny, and just did not look like my 4-month-old did at that time.
Did you observe any visible injuries to Sterling?
No, but I noted that there was blood coming out of his mouth, which had ran down to his shirt. What I believe to be blood, I should say. And I noticed there was some brown discoloration from what ended up being the swing, from what I assumed to be urine from laying in urine in the swing for so long.
Did you touch Sterling's body?
I did.
Why did you do that?
I did that to see how far he had been gone, if rigor had set in, and I also wanted to see if he was dressed from the bottom half down, because I found a pair of pants underneath the swing.
When you touched Sterling's body, what was the temperature?
He was cold.
When you said you were looking for rigor, what do you mean by that?
The call came in as the 4-month-old had passed recently, and from what I was noticing, I didn't believe him to have passed recent. I believed him to have been gone for quite some time. So
Not my system.
We're gonna go without the microphone, see what happens, okay?
I'll try to talk loud.
I'll deal with it over the new number.
And sir, you can continue your answer, thank you.
Could you re-ask it?
Of course. We were talking about touching Sterling's body. You said he was cold, and you said you touched him because you're looking for rigor. And I asked you what you meant by rigor.
As a first responder, we're trained to look for certain things when we do a death investigation, and rigor is one of those. What we've been told to look for is body muscle tenseness, body tenseness, meaning the body is in a position and it's hard to move from that position.
And what did you notice in your observations of touching little Sterling's body as far as rigor was concerned?
Rigor has set.
Now, how was Sterling positioned in the swing?
He was positioned in the swing almost as if he had slouched down or slid down in a way. His feet were not quite hanging off, but they were at the end of it.
And as far as clothing, how was Sterling dressed?
I remember him having a blue onesie or a t-shirt. I didn't get down far enough to check if it was a onesie or a t-shirt, but he had a blue top on. And I did not remove the blanket any lower. I noticed he had pants on, which I believed they were some sort of army type pant. And then I stopped and didn't remove the blanket any farther.
And the blanket we're talking about is that multicolored blanket that was over Sterling's lap area, correct?
Correct.
And did you touch that blanket?
Yes, I did.
And what observations did you make when you touched that blanket?
First thing I noticed is that it was soaked, it was wet. And as I stated before, when I moved it, the smell of urine was so bad that I had to hold my breath.
Did you see anything come out of the blanket when you touched it?
Yes, I did.
What did you see?
Growing up in Iowa, I've always called them gnats. You see them once in a while in your kitchen for bananas or fruit. I don't know the scientific name, and I'm not a bug expert, but I call them gnats.
Where did they come from?
They came from underneath the blanket.
Now, were there other items of clothing not in the swing, but surrounding the swing, in the area around the swing?
Yes, there were.
Let's talk first of all about that swing since you're familiar with it, okay? And obviously Sterling was in the swing, correct?
Yes, he was.
How is an infant attached to the swing as far as that model is concerned?
That model, that particular model has, I guess what we would call a lap belt. There is it's a 3-point harness or similar to that would come across the lap, and a single harness would come up between the legs and snap together.
And the part of the swing with the child lays on in the swing, what type of material is that made out of?
That's got it's a hard plastic, so what they do is they put a padded cloth over top as protection for the baby.
And so does the baby sit on cloth?
Yes.
Is that cloth permeable to moisture?
Yes.
Does that cloth have any holes in it?
The cloth does, because it has to have the holes to bring the harness through.
Now, you said that you found some items of clothing underneath and around the swing, correct?
Correct.
Can you describe what those were?
There were numerous blankets directly underneath Sterling in the swing, and I found a pair of newborn or infant pants underneath the swing, which is why I was looking to see if he was pantsed or not. Right behind Sterling there was a pile of clothes, and they were much too large to be his. And there was a diaper bag. I remember a diaper bag. I also remember there being very minimum diapers, not very many.
Okay. When you touched those items of clothing that were around the swing, what did they feel like?
The blankets and the pants underneath the swing were completely soaked in what I assumed to be urine.
Why did you assume that?
Because of the smell being so bad.
Were they in a position where the urine could have come off of Sterling's body onto some of those items?
Yes, as I stated, there's holes in that swing for this harness to come through. And so it isn't, if you dumped a cup of water in that seat, it would come through those holes. And these blankets were directly underneath where those holes would be.
Now, you had a chance to examine that entire room where the baby was found, Sterling, correct?
Yes, I did.
And you said a moment ago that you saw some diapers in those rooms?
Yes.
In that room, excuse me? And it's the baby room, right?
This baby room, yes.
Were those diapers soiled or used diapers, or were they clean, unused diapers?
No, they were brand new. I remember they were rolled with a rubber band around them, which is pretty common of if they have a baby shower, and they'd use those for decorations. Sometimes they get packs as a gift, and I remember thinking that those came as a pack, as a gift.
I assume you've changed a diaper in your lifetime, correct?
Yes.
And do you know the difference between a diaper that's been used and you kind of wrap up and one that's not been used?
Yes.
And these were not used?
No, they were not.
Did you find any soiled or used diapers in the back bedroom?
I did not.
Did it smell like dirty diapers in the room?
No, just the urine.
Could you tell if Sterling was wearing a diaper?
I could not. As I stated, I got to the pants line to see if he had a pair of pants on, and then stopped from there.
Now, as part of your job as a deputy sheriff, were you responsible for documenting what you saw?
Yes, I was.
And how was it that you documented it?
I documented it by writing adding to Chief Deputy Palo's report, doing a narrative, and then I also took photographs of the scene as he was busy with other items.
And the photographs that you took of the scene, you took them shortly after you arrived on August 30th, 2017, correct?
Correct.
And you've had a chance to see, before you testified today, State's Exhibits number 5 through 35, which were the photographs that you took that day, correct?
Yes.
Do those photographs, Exhibits 5 through 35, accurately depict what you saw in that apartment on August 30th, 2017?
Yes, they do.
Your Honor, I move for the admission of State's Exhibits 5 through 35.
Any objection?
No objection except for what's been marked as Exhibits 13 through 18 for reasons previously stated.
Prior rulings should stand. 5 and 35 are admitted.
Permission to publish, Your Honor?
Granted.
Deputy, I'm going to put these in front of you. Can I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
So you can look at them, okay?
Okay.
And here, I'll hand it to you. And I'm going to start with State's Exhibit number 5. Can you tell the jury what State's Exhibit number 5 shows?
What that shows is that's the outside of the apartment building as you would look at it if you parked in the apartment building's parking lot.
So, just to be clear, State's Exhibit number 5, does it show the actual building that contains apartment number 7?
Yes, it does.
And does it show where you went to enter the apartment?
Yes, it does.
And where did you go to enter the apartment?
There's a deputy standing in front of that door, and that's where we entered.
Who else in that exhibit number 5 is standing in front of the door?
That is Sheriff Marty Heeman.
Anybody else?
The mother of the child, Cheyenne Harris, and the sister, Nala.
And I'm next going to take you to exhibit number 6. Can you tell the jury, first of all, what room we can see in State's Exhibit number 6?
The room that you can see is what we characterize as a living room. Yeah.
And what is the vantage point of the photographer? Where are you taking the photo from?
You can see that there's a door on the, what would be if you're facing it, the right-hand side, and I have not stepped into the apartment yet. It's as if I opened the door and never entered the apartment, but took a picture of what was in front of me.
And looking back from that vantage point towards, as you face exhibit number 6, you see some doors in the background, correct?
Correct.
What do those doors, where do they go?
The door that's cracked open is the bedroom that Sterling was found in, and that other bedroom, or that other door that you can very minimally see is was the bathroom.
So when you say the door that's cracked open, is that the door directly the farthest away behind, in the back of the photograph, I should say?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Now, sir, in State's Exhibit number 6, it looks like there's an overhead fan, correct?
Yes.
And I know the photograph is an instant in time, but can you tell the jury, was that fan moving or operating?
That fan was on, and it was moving.
So was air circulating in that room?
Yes.
And I'm going to next show you State's Exhibit number 7. What vantage point were you when you took this photograph?
This is standing inside the living room and basically turning around and taking a picture of where we entered, which shows the outside door and then the apartment door.
Now, on the right of that photograph, there appears to be a couch, is that right?
Yes, that it's a couch.
And what was on the couch?
There were blankets, not baby blankets, I wouldn't describe them as, but what I use for my 4-year-old, you can get them at Walmart, plush, fuzzy blankets.
And next, State's Exhibit number 8. What does that show?
That shows the backside of the couch. It shows that there was a movie playing on the TV, and it also shows that there's an air conditioner in that room.
Is that an air conditioner that was running or not running?
That air conditioner at that time was not running.
And that shows the back of that couch on State's Exhibit number 8, correct?
Yes,
And this all was in that living room, the first room you walked into, correct?
correct.
Next, State's Exhibit number 9. What does that show?
That's the bedroom in which Sterling was found in. You can see the doors. I just pushed it open so that I could get a picture of the swing itself as you look in without entering the bedroom.
Can you kind of describe the dimensions of that bedroom?
I don't remember exact, but it was a pretty good sized bedroom, and I believe it was 10 by 10 or larger.
Now, when you're looking at State's Exhibit number 9 and the door, behind the door there's a wall, correct? This is a square room, right?
Yes.
What is that thing, the blue thing in the back of the photograph?
There's a quilt hanging over what would be the window, and there's a car seat that I can see.
Was that the only window in that room?
Yes, it was.
And there appears to be the swing on the right, correct?
Yes.
And next I want to show you State's Exhibit number 10. That's a little closer view as you walk into the room, correct?
Yes, it is.
Now you mentioned before that you saw a bouncy seat, is that right?
Yes.
Where is the bouncy seat in this photograph?
In that photograph, it's the first item basically directly at the bottom of the picture. Off to the, if you're looking at the pictures off to the left.
And you said you were familiar with that bouncy seat?
Yes, that bouncy seat and that rocker are the exact same that I had for my son, and they come as a set.
Now what is on the left of State's Exhibit number 10?
There's the mattress, the full-size mattresses, and then there's a couch cushion, as well as a baby blanket inside of the car seat.
Does the mattress, is it leaning against a wall?
Yes, it is.
What is on the other side of that wall?
That would be the master bedroom, or what we call the master bedroom.
Was that the only other bedroom in the house?
Yes, it was.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number 12. There appears to be, this is a little closer, 11, pardon me, State's Exhibit number 11. This appears to be a little closer view, correct?
Yes.
Sir, if you could stand down, if you could point to where you see diapers in State's Exhibit number 11 on the screen. Is that okay, Your Honor? May you step down?
So, as I stated, a lot of times for baby showers, you get these packs of diapers. They're very small, and they come, and they're already pre-wrapped in a rubber band, and they come, sometimes there's decoration, or they're packed into a pack. And so these right here, there's 1, 2, and 3. Those are diapers.
And they were wrapped up?
Yes.
How were they wrapped?
They're basically just rolled with a rubber band in the center.
And these are the diapers that you said were not soiled, correct?
They are not soiled.
Could you tell what size the diapers were?
Those were newborn or very infant, small infant-like.
And how did you know that?
Just by the very size of them, and we had one that was unrolled later. That was in one of the photographs.
And there appears to be some pop bottles down there, is that correct?
Yes.
Was there anything in the pop bottles?
No, there wasn't. We don't know why those were there.
Now there appears to be some sort of a vent there, is that right on the wall?
Yes.
What was that?
That's actually the heater. We found out later that there's thermostats on the wall, and it's all floor heat. So that's a heater, not an air conditioner unit. It doesn't have a fan. It's some sort of, I think they call it radiant heat, and they adjust it on the thermostat, and then that warms up the room.
Was the heat on?
Heat was not on.
I want to show you next, State's Exhibit 12. If you could just stand there, sir, and I'll have you explain to the jury what you're seeing. That shows a little bit more to the right of the swing, correct?
Correct.
What items did you see as you moved right to the swing?
The items that I noticed was that there was some diaper ointment, and again, it's right there, it's hard to see, but that white piece right here is actually one of those diapers that I talked about that were rolled, that were unrolled, and it was sitting right there, unused, but that's how I knew the size of the diaper.
And that white item appears on State's Exhibit number 12 right above that purple item, correct?
Correct.
On the the bottom right corner, right?
Yes.
Now I want to next show some photographs of the swing and Sterling, okay? And I'll start with State's Exhibit number 13. I want to talk about what you saw as far as the condition of the cloth surrounding Sterling's body. What observations did you make of the cloth surrounding his body?
The very first thing I noticed, and you can see it there, the swing itself is very clean. Down by his feet, it was brown and stained brown.
And you mentioned earlier that you had moved a blanket and you saw gnats fly out. Can you show us that blanket?
That blanket is right there. It's a blue, orange, and red blanket.
And is that over Sterling's lap?
Yes, it is.
Now, we talked earlier about some items that you found underneath the swings that were damp or moist with urine. Can you show the jury what those were?
There's a small pair of pants right here, and then there's a blanket, and I believe there was another blanket underneath here.
So what is the blue item as you looked at State's Exhibit number 13 under the swing?
This blue item is a pair of pants that would fit Sterling.
And the pink item to the left of that in State's Exhibit number 13?
That is a baby blanket.
And were those both wet?
They were.
And you're saying that these were positioned so that urine could run from the swing onto those items?
Yes. You can see in the picture here, this is that harness I was talking about earlier. It's white. It's a 3-point harness. And down here, there would be a hole and then 2 on the sides where urine would be allowed to fall through.
On Exhibit 13, there appears to be another item that's multicolored on the far left of the photograph. What is that?
We weren't exactly sure. It's some sort of cloth, but it was kind of a plastic cloth.
In State's Exhibit number 14, what does that show?
That shows Sterling.
And you mentioned before that you had seen some blood. Is that correct?
Yes,
Now, did you touch Sterling's shirt?
I did.
Where did you touch it?
His collar, right underneath his chin.
And why did you do that?
To see if it was damp, and how long that items had been on his shirt.
And what did the collar feel like?
It was stiff and dry.
Now, officer, I have a few more pictures of Sterling. I'm going to try to go through them quickly, okay? State's Exhibit number 15, what does that show?
That's just a closer view of his mouth and his shirt. But the important thing that I was trying to capture was the discoloration of the swing itself. It's brown and wet, and you can get a good view of what it's supposed to look like, and this is what it looked like.
And State's Exhibit number 16?
Another view, but I was trying to show that his hands were clenched in that rigorous set.
Looking at his hand that's on the top of that photograph, was there something on his hand?
Yeah, it was blood and body fluids, what I believe to be.
In State's Exhibit 17?
That shows staining on his arm that came off of that swing.
And State's Exhibit 18?
What I was taking this photo, the purpose was to show, number one, that whatever was in this, body fluids or urine or whatever it was, would not run down the swing. The swing, it was beveled, and it couldn't just run over top of that. So I was taking a picture to show that for a short time or a time, he had been in that body fluids or urine, and there was a mark on the swing itself showing where his foot had moved.
Now, sir, that's the end of our photographs of Sterling. I want to go through some other photographs that you took.
Well, we can do that. We just take our recess now, take a break, and then, because there'll be no more of the child, and we can just deal with it after lunch.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take our lunch break at this time. Please continue to heed my admonition, do not discuss the case among yourselves, do not do any research on your own. We will resume at 1.
All rise to the jury.
Afternoon, be seated. Proceed, Mr. McAllister.
Thank you. Sir, I want to go back to going through the photographs, okay? And there's one I'm not going to show to the jury again. They saw it earlier, but I want you to look at in front of you, State's Exhibit number 19, correct?
Yes.
Now, that is a photograph showing Sterling in the swing, correct?
Yes.
And there appears to be a bottle. Is that right?
Yes, there is.
Where was that bottle at in relation to Sterling's swing and body?
It's a couple feet away, right in front of, Sterling was facing the wall and the bottle was directly in front of him.
When I say bottle, I mean baby bottle, correct?
Yes.
I'm going to show you then on the screen, State's Exhibit 20. And
Yes. And without objection, Mr. Rosol, I'm going to allow him to go to the screen. We don't need to ask for permission each time, Mr. McAllister.
thank you, sir. Deputy, I promise you this worked a minute ago.
Great.
Yeah, with regret, can we take a 5-minute recess so we can...
I think we were all enjoying the awkward silence. Sure, because I forgot to mess with the audio system. That'll give me a chance to redeem myself as well.
I apologize, Your Honor.
No, that's fine. All right, we'll try to fix our equipment and come back and get you okay. Continue to heed the admonition. There you
Let
go.
me email this. I'll put it on the...
You ready?
No.
We got this working?
No, give me just a minute. You're getting closer.
It's like a computer.
So did you change anything between lunch?
We just changed the computer now, so it works.
We put it back in Coleman's computer, and so I'll put this in the stick and put it on the screen. It's a stick.
I have one, I know.
I can go get my county computer if you guys want
No.
Hope it's better than that Chickasaw County.
Well, if it's bad, it's my fault. I bought it.
That's true.
I touched it, that's why it doesn't.
Sir, thank you. We are ready. I apologize.
Bring him in, Roy. Is there Barb? Yell at Barb too, would you? Be seated. We're able to get the TV working. We're thinking thinking that there's something within the deputy's vest that is reacting with the microphone. Anytime he gets close to it, we get serious feedback. So that's my story so far on that. Mr. McAllister.
Thank you. Deputy, so we have State's Exhibit number 20 in front of you. Can you tell the jury what that shows?
That is that bottle that was directly in front of Sterling's seat, or swing.
Now, you testified earlier that you're familiar with providing care to infants, correct?
Yes.
Does that bottle appear to have some kind of a liner in it? Is that right?
Yes, there's a liner on the inside. Sometimes some of these bottles come and you can mix up the formula, or sometimes it's breast milk and you can freeze it. And then they kind of like it's quicker for them to warm it up.
So you can warm them up in a microwave over the stove inside that liner?
Yes.
So was there a liner in that bottle?
Yes, there was.
How would you describe the contents of that bottle, State's Exhibit number 20 and number 21?
What I described it as a parent, it was starting to turn. It had been there a while, and it was starting to separate. I don't know if you guys, formula bottles tend to, when they start to turn, they'll separate into two different types of liquid, or, you have the curdled, and then underneath it, maybe I'm the only one that finds the bottle drum, I don't know, but it turns into a bi-layer disgusting mess.
Now, sir, were you able to look throughout the entire apartment that day?
Yes, I was.
Did you find any of those liners in the apartment?
I did not.
Now, did you check the apartment for other baby bottles?
Yes, I did.
How many baby bottles did you find in the apartment?
Other than the one in the photo here, I found one other bottle.
Now, our next show, State's Exhibit number 22. What does that show?
Again, this is showing the swing that Sterling is in, and it's showing the discoloration of the lighter color is the normal color of that swing, and that darker color is the discoloration where the urine has settled or his body had rubbed against the swing.
Now, under that multicolored red blanket, there appears to be some other cloth garments, correct?
Yes.
Did you remove those garments?
I did not.
Next, State's Exhibit number 23. What does that show?
Earlier, we talked about the blankets, and I said there was another blanket underneath the swing along with the pants. And this shows the pair of pants that were soaked, the blanket, and then this is a thinner sheet for I guess, I took it as a sheet for a baby bed.
Was Sterling wearing any socks?
No, he was not.
Did you find any infant-sized socks?
I did not.
I want to show you State's Exhibit number 24. What does that show?
What I took here was, again, it's hard to see because of the glare, but the white items here are diapers, as I described them to you, rolled up with a rubber band around them. They're sitting on top of a pile of scented melts. I guess that's what I call them. You can buy these candles, buy these scented melts, and then they melt down and make the room smell nicer.
Were those packaged or were the packages opened?
They were packaged as that.
Were you able to search the apartment that day?
Yes.
Did you find anything that would be used to use those melts or those scented melts in the apartment?
I did not. I found a candle in the kitchen, but it wasn't what you would use to melt these down.
And you had testified earlier that when you were walking in the room, you smelled kind of like a freshener.
Yes.
Is that what you smelled?
Yes, it is. I only smelled it when I was at baby level. When I was in front of baby, when I moved that blanket, I could smell the urine smell. And then, as I stated, I could smell it was kind of a sweet smell, and that's where it was coming from, is the candles.
But to be clear, those were unopened containers of those melts, correct?
Correct. They were not open.
Exhibit number 25. What portion of the room is that as you were facing into the room from the doorway?
So that would be, if you took one step into the room, it would be to the right, directly to your right. The swing Sterlington would be technically right in here, which would be right there, and this pile would be here.
So to be clear, so the record's clear, as you look at Exhibit 25, the swing would be to the left portion not shown on that photograph, correct?
Correct. As you're looking at this photograph, the swing would be on the left-hand side, not pictured. You can see the base is right there, but that's the start of the swing.
Now, there appears to be a purple container inside of some sort of a dark container, is that correct, in the back?
Yes.
What is that purple container?
We believe it was whites.
Now, there looks to be some clothing there as well, correct?
Yes.
Was there any infant-sized clothing?
The only infant-sized clothing that stuck out in my head was this onesie here, but it was not the correct size. It was for a 4-month-old. It was a little bit larger, but the rest of these clothes, I believe, to belong to Nala, the sister.
They were larger than infant size?
Yes.
Next, I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number 26. Is that just a closer view of the closet
Yes, it is.
showing clothing?
Yes.
And number 27, what does that show?
Number 27 shows that someone had recently done the dishes, and that there was items inside the sink, almost as if someone was cleaning up.
And where was the kitchen at in relation to, when you first walk in the apartment into the living room, where would the kitchen be from that vantage point?
As you walk into the main door of the apartment, you would step in, the living room's in front of you, and the kitchen would be to your direct right.
And exhibit number 28, what does that show?
That is an actual overtop picture of the sink I wanted to take because the bubbles we've all done dishes, they started to settle a little bit, and like it'd been there a little while. It also shows a sippy cup and some coffee cups.
Were there any bottles that were being washed?
No, there were not.
And State's Exhibit number 29, what does that show?
Above the sink, directly above the sink that we just showed, this shows some formula, baby food, and that only other bottle in the apartment.
Was that bottle clean?
Yes, it was.
Now, the 2 cans of formula, did you look inside the cans?
Yes, I did.
Was there formula in the cans?
The blue can that's in the front was 3/4 full or about, and the orange can that's in the back, which was a different brand, different kind, was almost empty.
Now, is this the powdered formula that you add water to?
Yes, it is.
So the can was, the Similac, the blue can was about 3/4 full of powder?
Yes, it was.
And how much was in the other can?
It was just about empty. If I had to guess, I'd say under 1/4.
And that was also powder?
Yes.
Now, sir, did you move these items, the cans of formula?
I did.
And where did you move them to?
Directly down below on the countertop, just off to the side of the sink.
And did you move them so you could look inside and photograph them?
Yes, I did.
Now, sir, is this how they appeared when you came into the kitchen?
Yes, it was. This is me not touching or moving anything. I just opened the cupboard, took a picture.
So, going back to State's Exhibit number 27, where would that cupboard be in relation to the sink?
So the cupboard, it's hard to tell, but the cupboard is actually above here. There was a little cupboard above the sink.
And there was no door on the cupboard, is that right, or was there?
No, there were doors on the cupboard.
So you opened the door to take that photograph.
I did.
Exhibit number 30, what does that show?
That shows garbage bags, unused garbage bags.
Did you find any trash cans in the apartment?
I found a single trash can.
And where did you find it?
It was washed clean in the bathtub.
And I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number 31. What does that show?
That shows the trash can inside the tub.
So did you find any bags of trash in the apartment?
I did not.
Did you find any soiled diapers, either wet diapers or dirty diapers in the apartment?
I did not.
When you say this was recently washed, this trash can that you found in the bathroom, how could you tell that?
There was water on the inside.
I want to next show you State's Exhibit number 32. What does that show?
This shows what we call the master bedroom, as if you opened the door and took a picture directly without walking into it.
And is this the bedroom that abuts or shares a common wall with the room where Sterling was at?
Yes, it does.
And which side of State's Exhibit 32 would butt up against Sterling's wall?
So if you can imagine that this wall, this door frame runs straight, that is the wall that butts up against Sterling's room.
So the wall on the right of photograph 32?
Yes, it would be the right side.
Now there appears to be a fan, is that correct?
Yes.
Was it facing for the air to be blown out of the room or into the room?
It was facing as if to blow air into the room.
And there was an air conditioner out in the living room, correct?
Yes, there was.
So was that the area where the air was being drawn from into that room?
Yes.
And in this room there appears to be a bed, is that correct?
Yes.
What is the item by the bed on the top as you look at the picture of the fan?
This is a child pack and play.
I want to show you State's Exhibit number 33. Does that show the room as well?
Yes, it does.
Now, on the left of State's Exhibit 33, was there some shelving over there?
Yes. As you come into the door, or the bedroom, right behind the door, there was I guess I would describe it as a small bookshelf type shelf right behind the door.
And on that shelf, did you find a receipt?
Yes, I did.
And could you describe how it was situated on the shelf?
On the very top, Cheyenne Harris's purse was on top of that bookshelf, and on top of that was her billfold. And inside, under the billfold, inside the purse was what we found later would be a receipt.
And I'm going to hand you State's Exhibit number 91. Is this the receipt that you found, sir?
Yes, it is.
And is it a receipt from a business?
Yes.
How do you know that?
It has the name on the top with the address, the telephone number, and the email address.
And what business is that receipt from?
Hy-Vee food stores.
And sir, have you had an opportunity in your life to shop at Hy-Vee?
Yes.
Is this the receipt, a type of receipt you get after you purchase items at Hy-Vee?
Yes, it is.
And where was the Hy-Vee located?
I believe it was Charles City.
Your Honor, at this point, I'd move for the admission of State's Exhibit number 91.
No objection.
It's admitted.
Sir, how much was spent at Hy-Vee on items purchased at Hy-Vee?
The balance due was $123.52.
And you said it was in Charles City?
Yes.
Where is Charles City in relation to Alta Vista, Iowa?
I'm not sure of the mileage, but it's relatively close. Alta Vista is on the north side of our county, and there's a blacktop that takes you right directly to Charles City, which would be the next county over, but it's literally about the same distance as New Hampton from Alta Vista in our county.
When was the receipt issued from Hy-Vee?
The date on here says August 26, 2017 at 6:14 p.m.
And again, that was found in the purse in the master or the other bedroom in this apartment, correct?
Correct.
Now I want to show you State's Exhibit number 34. What does that show?
That shows, if you take a step inside the room and turn directly to your right, it shows the bed and then the pack and play.
What was in the pack and play?
Numerous blankets and a stuffed animal, I believe.
And I'm going to show you finally State's Exhibit number 35. What does that show?
That's the inside of the pack and play with multiple blankets and a sheet, and then a full-size sheet for an adult bed.
Were those items in the pack and play, that bedding items, were they infant-sized or something else?
Most they were not infant sized. They were not made for this pack and play. They were I guess You can buy them at Walmart. I don't know if they're twin size, but they're kind of in between.
Were they wet like the items in Sterling's room?
They were not.
Were they soiled in any way?
They were not.
Did you find any evidence that there was a pet in that apartment?
I did.
What did you find?
Inside the bathroom, I found multiple cleaning shampoos, conditioners, things for dogs. And I also found a dog food bag that was in the corner. So if you walked into the apartment from the main door, it would be directly to your left as you walk in. If you took one step, it would be right there.
Debbie, you can take your seat, sir. Now, sir, after you took these photographs, what was your next responsibility at this crime scene?
After I finished taking the photographs, I then secured the scene of non-law enforcement personnel. So the EMI or MEI and ambulance personnel, firemen, anybody that was on scene, first responders, I made them leave the apartment if they were inside the apartment at that time and secured it.
Why was it important to do that?
For scene security for one, but also the integrity of the crime scene.
Did you stand guard or make sure nobody came into the residence?
I did. I started what's called an entry log and kept track of who was going in at what times, and I didn't let them in if they were non-law enforcement personnel.
Were you aware that the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigations was called to assist with this crime scene processing?
I was. Chief Deputy Palo and I had a short conversation about calling them, and I was going to do so, but later it was determined that he would do that in between his duties.
And were you present when Special Agent Jim Teal from the DCI showed up to help process that scene?
I was.
What time did you leave that property that day?
I'm not sure of the exact time, but it was, I want to say it was after 11 p.m.
Did that end your involvement in this matter?
It did.
Thank you, sir. That's all the questions I have.
Cross.
Thank you, Your Honor. Deputy, excuse me. Your testimony in direct is that when you were dispatched to the scene, you were informed that there was a 4-month-old child that had passed. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Is the dispatch that you received the same dispatch that the first responders would receive?
Yes.
In other words, when the dispatcher contacts you as a sheriff's deputy, they're talking to both you and EMTs at the same time?
I apologize. No, they weren't. We were on a different frequency than for the ambulance, fire, and first responders.
Okay. So if the dispatcher wants to talk to you and then also dispatch EMTs, they have to basically make 2 different calls?
Correct. 2 different, yes.
You also talked about, on direct examination, as a first responder, there are certain things that you look for during a death investigation, and your testimony was that you were looking for rigor mortis to determine whether the death had occurred recently. Was my understanding of that correct?
Yes.
And do you have any medical training beyond that of a first responder?
I do not.
Would you agree that a doctor has more training in that than you would?
Yes, I would.
Do you have any experience aging or telling the time of death between a difference, or that was an awkward question. Do you have any experience telling the difference in the time of death between an infant and an adult?
I've seen a lot of death, but I have no experience in that.
When you entered the room where Sterling's body was found, your testimony on direct examination was that it felt about 10 degrees warmer. Did you ever verify a temperature change with a thermometer between that room and any other room in the house?
After DCI agent Teal arrived on scene, he actually had a thermometer that we had placed in different locations throughout the house and gave it, I'm not sure of the time, but I believe it was 10 minutes at a time in each location.
But your assessment that felt 10 degrees was based on your feeling, correct?
Correct.
Not on a scientific measurement, right?
Correct.
I believe that you also testified that in addition to seeing Sterling's body, you had physical contact with the body.
I did.
In fact, I believe that you helped move the body, correct?
Yes, I did.
When you were moving the body and had physical contact with it, you did not see any signs of decomposition, correct?
No, we left it as was and took the chair apart to move him out. So the blanket went on top of him and they never moved it.
But from what you saw, you were not able to see any signs of decomposition, correct?
Correct.
The baby bottle that was found in the room, do you know whether that had formula or breast milk in it?
I believe it was formula the way that it, again, I'm not an expert, but as a parent, the way that it was decomping or turning, I believe I used in I believe it to be formula.
And at the time that you observed it, it was starting to curdle, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you, Deputy. I don't have any other questions.
Redirect.
No, sir?
Deputy, you may step down. Is this deputy excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Sir, if you could just place those in the court reporter, please.
Next witness.
The state calls Jeremy McGrath.
I'm sorry, I misread it.
McGrath, right over here, please. Face me, raise your right hand. You promise testimony you're about to give will be the truth, and nothing but the truth. If so, say I do. I do. You see? Mr. Jones?
Would you please state your name?
Jeremy McGrath.
Can you pull that microphone up here?
Well, we gotta try it again. Then we'll turn it on.
Oh, okay. Or do we need it?
Well, I want to find out if it wasn't the deputy.
Jeremy McGrath.
And can you spell that for the court reporter, please?
Jeremy McGrath.
Mr. McGrath, where do you work at?
For Chickasaw Ambulance Service and also Chickasaw County Medical Examiner Investigator.
And what is your job with Chickasaw Ambulance Service?
Paramedic.
What type of training do you have as a paramedic?
College courses through Hawkeye Community College. It's a diploma paramedic program.
How many years have you been in the medical field?
16 and a half years now.
Can you describe your current duties?
I own the ambulance service, so I do management duties and I also respond to medical calls.
So that's your business then?
Correct.
Now, you also said that you do medical investigations?
Yes.
Okay, explain what that is.
Excuse me, I'm one of the appointed medical examiner investigators for Chickasaw County, so we get called usually by dispatch and go to the scenes of deaths and do preliminary gathering of information for the state medical examiner's office.
So explain that to the jury. You go and get some basic information.
Correct.
Do you put it in some type of report?
Yes, we do a MEI 1 report, which consists of basic demographic information, things that we observe, everything's documented there as far as the condition of the person and the circumstances that we observe. Do kind of some preliminary investigation.
And that information gets sent to the state medical examiner?
Correct.
Right, and what's the state medical examiner?
State medical examiner's office is in Ankeny, and that's where we send people in for autopsies. And
What's your educational background?
I have a 2-year degree in police science, associate's degree, and certificate for paramedic.
The medical examiner investigator, is that volunteer?
We're paid a nominal fee.
All right, I'd like to talk to you about August 30th, 2017. Were you paged out to a residence regarding an infant?
Yes, it was.
What time?
It was approximately 1 o'clock or shortly before 1 p.m.
And were you paged out as the medical examiner investigator or through your ambulance service?
It's an ambulance and first responder.
So tell us what you did when you received the call.
We were paged for a child not breathing, and so I heard the page, and I was actually north of New Hampton, and we were paged to a residence in Alta Vista, Iowa, and so I jumped in my truck and responded with my lights activated.
You say you were north of New Hampton, so does that put you closer to Alta Vista if you were south of New Hampton?
Correct.
Okay. How long did it take you to get there?
I would say approximately 12 minutes.
Where did you go to?
The apartment, Hilltop Avenue, I believe, in Alta Vista.
Was that apartment number 7?
Yes.
What did you do when you arrived at the apartment?
When I pulled up to the residence, I was greeted by a postal worker, and she directed me, just directed me to the residence.
Did you know who that was?
I did not.
All right, so what did you do?
I entered the residence. There was nobody in the kitchen or living area. As I walked through the residence, I witnessed adult female and adult male and a young child in the bedroom to the left, which is on the north side of the apartment. And one of our other first responders was in the bedroom directly in front of me on the east side of the apartment.
Did you know the adult male and female? Have you seen them before?
No, ma'am.
What were they doing in the room?
Talking.
And you said there was a young child in there as well?
Yes, ma'am.
How close was that, the bedroom that those two adults were in, how close is that to the bedroom that your first responder, Tony, was in?
A few feet.
Right beside each other?
Doorway to doorway, yes.
So did you go in to the baby's room?
Yes.
What did you do?
I was greeted by the first responder that was there. She kind of briefed me real quickly. Obviously, I've seen an infant in the swing, and she was standing there, and she briefed me on the circumstances that she had seen, and I did an assessment of my own.
And the first responder, that was Tony Friedrich, correct?
Correct.
Did you notice any smell when you were in the room?
Yes, there was an odor, one that I do not recognize. I've been on numerous calls where somebody had been deceased, and there's a certain odor, and this wasn't it. It's an odor that was difficult to describe.
Did you end up filling out a report for the state medical examiner's office?
Yes, I did.
One of the things that Ms. Friedrich talked about earlier was rigor. Is that something that you, as the medical examiner investigator, was looking at?
Yes.
What did you find in regards to rigor with the baby?
What I found was the rigor was present. as I lifted the baby's arm to assess it, or him, it was stiff.
And when you wrote your report, how did you, are there different levels of rigor?
Yes.
Tell us what those levels are.
They determine it by 0, 1, 2, and 3. 0 being no rigor, 3 being full rigor.
What did you put in your report for the state medical examiner?
3.
All right, did the child have blankets covering it?
Yes.
Did you touch them?
Yes.
And what did they feel like?
Wet.
Was there anything else unusual that you saw around the child?
I noticed flies and gnats.
And I assume that there was no medical intervention attempted with the baby.
Correct.
How long did you end up staying at the scene?
Approximately 2 to 3 hours.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cross.
From your observations of the child, were you able to determine time of death?
No, sir.
And did you observe any other composition?
No, sir.
Nothing was consistent with the child being deceased for relevant.
I can't determine that.
Nothing further.
Redirect.
No.
You may step down and this witness be excused.
Yes.
Next witness.
Your Honor, statement call Sheriff Martin Keeman.